So, I think we are live. Hopefully so. Jody, let me know, or let us know out there if you having trouble. But Jody and I are teaming up today to tackle cables.
Yay, cables. Wait, tables or cables?
Well, I would love tables. I feel more comfortable.
At the end, maybe you can make a cable table.
I could. Maybe not I could, but what somebody else may be able to.
That's true.
After this. I would rather do tables, but cables.
Okay.
And not even our superhero friend Cable, just cables. And
so does everybody know why you're doing this?
Nobody knows why we're doing this. But here's a little background. We'll tell us a story on this. Here's what we're going to do today is talk about kind of some different ways to make both to form and plan and create some intricate cables. And the reason why is Aaron, everybody should know, I think 2 weeks ago did the Ghostbuster trap, right? And he had, yeah. And on our warehouse, we actually have a good model of the Ghostbuster Proton pack. So I didn't model this, and now I feel bad. This is on the warehouse. I don't remember who built it, so I'm not giving credit.
Somebody did this.
Somebody built this, and thank you for building this, because we're going to come back to this. But we were talking, Aaron and I, and he was saying that he wanted to do a live modeling of a Proton pack, but that it was so detailed that he was sure he wouldn't get it done in one live modeling session. And the second part of that was the cabling alone he thought would take quite a while to get right. And so we were just kind of riffing and thinking, it might be interesting to do an exploration of just some methods for cables. Because if you're trying to do anything more than just a basic follow along simple curve, then there's some things that we can explore that are going to make stuff like this possible and actually fairly easy. So that's what we're doing. If out there you have suggestions or ideas, please let us know, because a lot of this is sort of kind of just figuring things out. 2 shout outs, actually 3. One to our friend Dave Richards, who most people know in the forums is always helpful. He's given us a couple ideas. Box in the forum provided some ideas, and this is some time ago. And also this week, Aaron did a skill builder on draping a cable using Follow Me and just planning ahead based on what you want it to do. And he also has a skill builder on Bezier Curve, some of the things that we'll be using. So there's some good resources out there. All right.
I was going to add them into the chat here, but I think I'm just going to go add them to the post on the forum. Links to those videos.
Oh, nice. We are not going to be covering all of these extensions, but it's going to be extension heavy today. And we're going to be covering most of these. Not extensively. We're not going to go into, for example, Fredo Spline extensively. We're just going to use one tool from the suite of tools. But here's some of the stuff we're going to get into. Different ways to draw Bezier curves, and there are other Bezier extensions out there. I don't even know what Bezier Tool stands for, but we're going to use one of the tools from that. Several tools for paths and following paths, and so we'll get into these as we go. But here's a quick look at some of the things we're going to be doing. All right. Let's jump in and start exploring it. So let's build kind of a box like this. Rather than jump over here from the start, let's just create something like this where it's, you know, like that, a box. Then we're gonna run some cables through.
This is a DIY Proton pack if you were building one at home and you didn't have a background in whatever it is this Ghostbusters had a background in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, clearly they were industrial designers.
That's true. Just look at them.
Just look at them. All right, this will be totally, this will work for us.
So how much research how many different cables did you have yourself looking for to make sure you left no cable unturned?
Nice. No, I did not. And we should be upfront. Like, this is not an exhaustive. You can, I don't know, replicate every cable you could find out there. That's definitely not going to be the case. But it's a good, you know, we'll get some. We'll make sure and get some covered. I don't know. What all type of cables are there out there?
I don't know. I mean, as I'm still looking at the first screen whenever you started the video. So I'm seeing that you have some that look like almost like a phone cord, or different ones that have that kind of spiraling thing on there. It makes me think that also this would apply to, you know, like the pipes you have coming out of the back of your washing machine or your refrigerator or anything like that. Hoses. They're not just cables, but also hoses.
Hoses.
I just doubled the type of stuff you could be making in here.
And I don't, what would we call it? Like, if you think of just a shop vac and like the ribbed hose, is that what you would call it? A ribbed or something? I don't, what would you call that? But yeah, hoses.
Call it a hose. An exhaust port. Wait, it looks like you just made a bunch of exhaust ports.
I know, I need something to connect from and to.
Rope and cable, too. Good call, Transom. Oh, corrugated hose. That's what Mr. Richards called it.
Really? That is cool.
All right. See? So many ways to do this. There's part of me, having done support for SketchUp in the past, that is just considering you creating these somewhat organic-ish shapes. And I just shudder at the thought of encouraging this, because it is not a, while you'll say it's easy, it's also one of those things where people, you know, they go ahead and run 200-foot stretches of cable because they're like, I just got to make it look authentic. I remember from multiple people back in the day, having somebody who was designing a solar panel or setting up a solar array, and they had mapped down to the screws, you know, the Phillips head or the bolts or the Phillips head screws with threads on there. And, you know, these things are, it looks like a really simple, you know, thing's only 15 feet by 15 feet, and SketchUp would just chug trying to process all that geometry.
Yeah, don't do that.
So that's just it's just a reminder that these cables look cool, but don't plan on trying to be too realistic in all of your large scale drawings.
Okay, so I got a few things set up, and what we're going to do is connect these to up here to these. So we're going to have wires that we just have to sort of figure out the path, because we don't want, you know, ideally we want to be able to have wires going around each other but not crossing in the same space. We're going to see what we can do, and we'll see.
Yeah, Transom pointed out hydraulic hoses. What you could be doing instead of what you're doing right now is you could be creating the Ripley's forklift thingy that she used to fight the alien in the movie Alien. It was probably from back when you didn't watch rated R movies, though, so I don't know.
Well, I'm familiar with that, but you're suggesting I model that whole forklift? I mean,
maybe. Or maybe that's next time. Once everybody knows how to do these cables, then you go back in and you start creating hydraulic-based machinery.
Oh man. So let's the first tool we're going to use. I think. Okay, let's start out by saying maybe some of you out there are new enough that will cover like the very basic native tool version of this, which would be follow me. So I'm going to create an arc. So I've got these. I'm going to draw a line. Let me just show the issue that will happen when you create hoses with this. So if I select my arc here and select follow me, and I'm using keyboard shortcuts, but follow me and do this, it works. Okay, cool. What you'll see is this gap, because the follow me is following the arc, and the arc doesn't hit the surface at a perpendicular angle. It hits it at a just some angle based on the type of arc you drew. So when you want to do this, what you want to do is I'm going to pull this away a little bit, and I'm going to draw a straight edge that is perpendicular to finish this out. And this is actually going to become something that we want to use even when we move to Bezier tools, because we're going to have the same issue. So I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to weld them, which you could right click, but I've got that assigned to a shortcut. For me, it's Shift W. So I've got that welded, follow me, and now it meets correctly. So I could just do, from up here to here, a simple tube like that. That would be the, one way to do it, fairly straightforward. Okay. Let's introduce the Bezier tool. So if I go up here to draw, and I'm going to draw Bezier curves. Now, Aaron, like we mentioned, has a great scale builder on this, but let me just show really quickly. This is stuff that he covers in his scale builder, but when we go to draw a Bezier curve, it's by default a 3-step process. I click once on the starting point, click again on the, it's not 3 steps. Click on the starting point, click on the ending point, and then I've got 2 more clicks to establish how the curves work. What you want to do is that first establishing click is going to be for your first point. So I'm going to draw somewhere here along this edge, and the farther I pull out, the more sort of it comes in correctly. So somewhere along this, and then I want that to curve around and come into over here. So I'm going to click over here. Then I've got coming out of the first point and gently going back into the second point. So let's do that up here. And just to show, we can start like here and then turn direction. So we're going to say, draw Bezier curve, say from here, 1, and it's going to end up here. Now I'm going to come back to this one where I want it to come in correctly to this. So I'm going to draw it somewhere along this edge. And I can keep going. So if I pull out here on the green direction, so I click here, let's say, and then I've got one more click, and I'm going to draw up here and extend that out on the red. And now I've got this nice curve that exits out from down here, curves up, and enters even in a different direction. So as long as you understand that, like click your first 1 and 2 start and end points, and then establish how it's coming into the first point and how it's coming into the second one. Now, we can get a little more detail into this by, I'm erasing that and draw it again. So if I draw Bezier curve, down here where it says degree 3, if we say 4, 5, 6, that gives us more control points to control how the curve is going to go. So I'm going to type 4, let's say, before starting, and then do the same thing. So I've got click once for the start, click 2 for the second point. I'm going to come back. I still want it coming in correctly, but I don't immediately have to go up here. I've got one more click that I can say, maybe I want to stretch it out here or over here. Let's stretch it, let's say this way. And then that last one, I'm going to extend along this line. Okay, so this one comes out, loops around a little farther because we added one more control point. And if I had said 5 degrees, I don't know why it's called that, but think of them as just more control points. All right, so I'm going to take this line. This edge is inside the group, but I'm going to draw another edge. Select that edge and that. Weld them. I think that's right. Yep. Come down, draw another one here. Draw that line. Weld those. And then I can use follow me to create this. Now, as Jody was alluding to, always be conscious that you're being deliberate about the number of sides. I don't need 24 segments. I can get away with, say, 12. It doesn't need to be that detailed, especially if it was smaller.
You can make them square. Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Square
no,
may not be good.
Maybe, but so there we go. So that's a nice path. Yeah, Jody, to your point, let's undo that. One thing to keep in mind, so let's say that instead this is kind of a tube that's a little bit flattened and even has something like this. I'm going to select this arc, turn it down maybe to 4 segments. Same here. But now, let's see, select this, follow me. We've got that.
That's fun.
That is fun.
I used to be able to make that shape using my Play-Doh extruder thing.
That's I forgot all about that. That totally does. What you will find if you do follow me to create really complex shapes, the follow me shape is going to somewhat follow the curves, and that eventually, especially if you're spiraling, can get warped quite a lot. So you may be limited in how like super crazy you can push this one, but for this one I think it works really well. So we'll leave that one alone. Let's create another one over here. Let's see, this one, let's say this one is going to come up here. So let's draw a Bezier curve from here to here. And I'm going to bring this one out outside of this one. So
I have to say it out loud. I'm sorry, I'm in here trying to format text to put into the forum, so I wasn't even looking at all the comments, but you apparently have already astounded some people with the idea of a 3-dimensional Bezier curve.
Ooh. Well, that's great.
It's always you gotta dazzle them with. Wait, how's it go? Dazzle them with something instead of baffling them with No, I feel like this is going to go the wrong direction.
I don't know. Kill him with kindness, but
Yeah, no, my
what
dad
does that even mean?
who was well known for his colorful language, had some words of wisdom when it comes to if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, then you baffle them with BS. That's my dad.
Oh, I think that's just good Midwest sage advice, right?
I think so.
So okay, this one is fairly simple. Now, when you draw Bezier Curves, and again, this is just the native one. You will need to go find it on the extension warehouse and install it. It's by the SketchUp team. By default, it's going to have, I think, 20 sides, and you can't change that. So just keep that in mind. We're going to look at some ways to kind of draw Bezier curves that you can have more control over, but this one, 20 sides. And so let's do one more simple follow me. What's that?
I said he's been working on engines and is just kind of hit a wall with creating cables for stuff wrapping around in there. Would be an interesting problem to try and work with, because you've got to then make your cables sort of fit around other pieces.
Yeah, like these are the tools to do it, but I'm not. It doesn't mean it's necessarily still easy to do.
It'll be easy after everybody gets done watching this video, though.
Easier, hopefully. All right, so that is another one of those. Let's group those, and so now let's create different way. I actually like that simplistic Bezier tool, but let's say we need to come out of here, and then we want to wrap around here and then come back up and around here. Okay, so we're going to come out, going to try and go under these cables and then back up and around. Now again, we're going to explore Fredo's Spline tools, and there are some other Bezier tools that have more control points by default. But one of the things that we could do in this case is just say, okay, fine, we're gonna split this up and just create ourselves a little bit of some helpful guides. So let's say,
I always wonder when you say a thing like helpful guides, you are acknowledging the fact that you sound a little bit like Bob Ross.
Oh. Well, I will always take that. I mean, who doesn't want to sound like Bob Ross?
I don't know.
I mean, I do. I think that's a compliment.
Good. That's what I was going for. To be complimentary. D-Cube was wondering if you could rotate the Bezier at the target.
Rotate. I'm not sure what you mean. So, like, if we were to draw a really quick one here. So we draw that Bezier, and then, I mean, again, depending on what you're trying to ask, this is probably not what you mean, but, and if you were to try to move this point, say to up here, again, that could be helpful. And if you're drawing multiple Bezier, it could be helpful. That's what we're about to do here, right? Is draw two of them. But I probably don't understand what you're asking. I'm sorry.
Well, if that didn't make sense, I'm sure he'll elaborate.
Let's take this. That's what I want. I'm going to shorten this edge. Drawing on top of it, and let's see if we can make this work. So let's draw our Bezier curve, and I'm going to start here to here, come out. Oh, you know what? I may not need. I'll see if I need more control points. Let's find out.
So are you basically just kind of hitting different Bezier tools to create the same, try and create the same thing? Have you found that any tool is more necessary than another, or is more your go-to Bezier tool for this kind of stuff?
I think if you get really comfortable with Fredo's Spline tools, it allows you a lot more flexibility, and that might be just your go-to for most of the stuff you're doing. If you want kind of something that is fairly straightforward, I do really like the native Bezier tool. So as far as go-to, I don't know. I'm gonna lock to this, or make sure. I'm watching down there. Let's see.
How much of this how many of your hose ideas and your cable ideas were inspired after interacting with Chris Rosewarne and his ad hoc, random, in air quotes, feel to the stuff he makes?
You know what? I didn't go look at what Chris did for this, but he's so incredible. So who's to know how much isn't just, subconsciously.
You just pick it up from the collective subconscious.
Exactly. So I got one I didn't need, and draw Bezier curve, and just give ourselves just a chance.
Aaron's commenting in the comments over here, like he's part of this event today.
Oh. Well.
And I think he's saying that he likes the native Bezier. So, there you go.
Okay, so we wanted to get around, come up, and we did. We got what we wanted.
Look at that. Nice.
So let's weld this up, and
so now I'm looking inside this computer next to me, and I'm seeing a whole mess of ribbon cables. Huh? Ribbon cables.
Don't,
Tyson.
Jody, don't.
No?
Mm-hmm. So listen. I don't have it up. This one right here on the Proton pack, if you look at the actual pictures, is that, like, it's a big, wide ribbon cable that comes up and then gets all twisted up. No. I don't hate myself that much.
Fine. I don't hate you enough to push for it either, I guess.
Well, thanks, buddy. No.
Do you have something, like, when looking top down at your keyboard setup, do you have something in front of your keyboard, or is that just the base of the iMac?
This?
I guess.
I think it's just the base of the iMac, and I've got my Mac lifted up off onto some boxes, but I think that's just the base of the iMac.
Yeah, Kai called it. We started going ribbon cables, and then the poly count just goes. Although I keep seeing, like, on that box behind the one you're working on, I keep seeing that one back there that looks like a phone cord, just about.
So let's do that. Let's make this one more interesting. And like you're just queuing me up all over the place, Jody. Here, you're good.
That's
stuff.
all I'm here. I'm a facilitator. I like to think that sometimes it's for the better. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'm just a crapster, troublemaker.
Oh, you're both, and you're very good at both.
I'll own it.
So I welded all that up together, and I moved it off 30 inches so I know exactly where it is. When we do this, it's not hard to do follow me, but one extension that can make it really easy, and I apologize because going down this, kind of exploring some of these, man, I was throwing a bunch of extensions in here. There's so many. It's redonkulous. This is way more than I
So
usually have.
So Matt added them to the description section of the YouTube video, but I also went ahead and put them in the forum post. So the daring plug-in folks are welcome to go and find some of these.
Nice. So pipe along path is also another way that's going to essentially give you follow me if you want just round. So I'll just I made my diameter. I don't need an inside diameter on this one, but if I say okay, there, done, and I would just move that back 30 inches, and so that's a quick way to do it. And if I look at that and I say, you know what, let's make that a little bit thicker, then I'd come back in and say maybe a 1-inch diameter. I don't know how big this was when I started. And just to show what it does, if I made the inside diameter 1/2 inch, then we would actually get a pipe. And that might be something that you definitely want, but in our case, since we're just dealing with the exterior, we wouldn't need it. So pipe along path is really nice for, again, it's kind of doing the same thing Follow Me is doing, but you might find it to be easier in some cases. All right, now let's do something else. This one is the cool one. There's a lot of interesting things here. This is the one, this one right here, Helix. This Helix along curve. This is the one that's gonna kind of take any of these and just really go crazy. So if I select here our path, and I'm going to move another one 10 inches just to have it. So I'm going to select one of these and say Helix along curve. Radius 1 and 2 are the start and end of your path. And so for us, we want a radius, again, let's just say 1 inch. Let's try 1. The number of laps is how many times it's going to spiral during the course of the curve. If you want a really tight spiral for whatever reason, you turn that up, but be careful. I'm not going to turn it up a lot because I have crashed multiple times when I've pushed this. So I'm just going to say 25 for now. Sections per lap, let's just say 15 so it's not too many. Create tube, make sure and say yes. And the tube radius, let's say 0.25 for 1/4 inch. Okay. That gets us this cool spiral. And, you know, if we wanted this alone, then that's pretty awesome. That is
That'd look really nice.
That's such a cool plugin. I'm not even sure who made that, but thank you. That is amazing.
Which one is that? That's pipe along path?
Nope, that is Helix along, I think it's Helix along curve.
Helix along curve?
Yeah. So go grab that one and play around.
Do you know how many of these are free or not free? I assume some of them cost money.
Some of them do. I believe Fredo Spline is one of his newer ones and costs. Scale, pipe along path, Helix along curve. I don't think any of those cost money. Curve Maker, I think, is free. Sketch Plus is a recent one, and it does cost. But if and it's got Sketch Plus is a suite of a ton of really great tools. We're only going to use one, but if you are interested in it, he's got a Black Friday thing going on. I'm not trying to push any of these particularly, but it's a good time to grab it if you wanted it. Component Stringer is not. Profile Builder and Clothworks, those both do cost. We're not going to go into them, but Profile Builder is another way to string components along a path, which is what we're going to get into in a little bit. And Clothworks, if you had a series of, let's just say, steps or something, you can do Clothworks and it will, using gravity, drop an edge and correctly kind of lay it in the path as gravity would do. There's some other things you could do with that I think would be really interesting. Again, we're not going to show it. I don't know how to use ClothWorks, but I have seen it done. So that is another option. If you were to take, say our backpack here, and just, turn it vertically, and then draw a line and just have it sort of lay against the top of it. Or there's a number of ways that you could, but that's that. I'm going to use, I think this is really cool, this spiral telephone cord option, but I also like doing, so I'm going to do pipe along path. I'll make my outside diameter also 1 inch, same as that, 0, yes, and move that back 30 inches. Because I like doing some of these things where it's either inside, or if that's not big enough, then maybe let's make this on a little bigger. Where's our pipe along path? Let's make it 1.3. See what that does. Okay, I'm not gonna. We're gonna do some more of this, so no worries. We'll leave that one as is. So we explored how to use the native Bezier tool. Here is an example of using Fredo Spline, and again, this is not. There are actually multiple Bezier tools out there. I did not explore them all, but Fredo Spline. If we look in this and we just do, classic Bezier. And it's got a bunch of stuff, and again, I apologize, it's kind of a mess over here. But I believe if we come in here, so I'm going to click to start, you can see that S, and then I'm going to click up here to end. And then it has basically an unlimited amount of control points. So if we were weaving this all over the place, we could get into some really interesting stuff. How do we want this one to go? What do you think, Mr. Gates? Let's come up around here, and then, so I'm going to come out. I'm going to start by putting it here, but you'll see we can adjust this. Here, let's put a point up here, and then here. And once I'm done, I'm going to double click, I think, and that puts it into an editing mode. It's not totally finished here. For example, I can say, I did not mean to do this last point. That's too extreme, so I'm going to bring that up. Now let's see if this clears our other ones over here. If we wanted, let's say this point, we can move this in the red or green, and we can lock it. Red or green. And then the other nice thing about this, whereas the previous one it said, we have 20 every time we draw one Bezier. Before I finish this, if I click out here and just drag, it will change the number of segments. So if I want more segments in here, I actually have some control over that. So let's say that, and I'll double click. Actually, did I make that worse? Nah, it's fine.
So what if you had, I guess you could just do a profile. Like sometimes you'll have a cord that's two cables right next to each other. But I guess if you just create a profile sort of the way you created that guy, that'd work too.
I think so, and I think in that case, I would, if I understand what you're saying two that are connected together kind of simultaneously.
Yeah.
And I don't even...
Somebody needs to create an extension that takes, whenever you've got like a coily guy like that, and then one of the coils gets flipped around so that it creates the, if you're old enough, then this always happened to the port on your phone in your house. Or if you want a Slinky is always going to do that as well. Just a little entropy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's use Helix long curve for this one too, and then we're going to talk about actually arraying stuff to create a path. So I've got this. I need to... So I'm going to copy it off 30 inches. Say this one. Looks like I don't think we need that radius as big for this one. Let's make it a smaller one. So let's say 0.5.
Keggie's request is a twisted cable, i.e. a bundle of cables twisted together and that path together. I think since you're using follow me, well, I think follow me is probably the one that makes the most sense. Are you trying to picture? I see you looking up and to the left there.
I am. I'm like I assume what he's talking about, right? Yeah, like a braided cable. So you have a braided cable that is also following. That's a good challenge. I'm not going to tackle it immediately, but it's a good challenge.
Let that percolate.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I'm going to turn this one down.
I don't think that. I'm not sure that he was trying to do that as a challenge for you as much as if there was something that just immediately made sense here. Oh, Keggy agreed. He said, yep, that's it.
All right. This one, I'm going to use pipe along path as well, just to create... See,
DQ would also like to see, it's technically not making cables, but making a plugs, cool looking plugs at the end.
Oh, I would love to.
Not cool looking.
Making plugs, we can do that, right? Like that sounds fine. I'm gonna try. Okay, so let's try a little experiment here, and see what we can get. So this one, I'm going to use pipe along path, and let's try a 1 inch, 0, okay. Let's see if this is big enough for what. So first of all, I like this look of like where things are twisting. Let's try.
Oh, dang it. I looked away. I didn't see how you made it look like it was all blended.
Oh, it's just two objects.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it's just cutting into it, and so there's not a hard line.
So since they're so close, and what I wonder is if we did so this time, let's make the laps, let's say 18. And then I'm just experimenting with this one. So, and then we'll do one more, and we'll make some that are less. Oops, 40. It's not really a twisted, but it's definitely a different. Yeah, it's fun to play with. Like that's cool looking either way. And what else do you want besides cool looking, right?
At this point, right? It's not like you're literally modeling what's going to, like, we all know that as soon as you try and do this in real life, then you're going to have some parts that just don't bend right, and it just looks, and never looks as cool as you think it's going to.
Or
here you go.
Cooler.
Now model zip ties, because invariably everybody is either grabbing a piece of Velcro or a zip tie to try and keep all that stuff in check.
Oh no. Actually, one of the things that in the newer backpack, the newer Proton Ghostbusters backpack that I saw is that they'll have cables and then they come together with kind of a shrink wrap. And I wanted to learn a little bit about Clothworks just to see if I could create the shrink wrap when you bring cables together and then they splay out again. But I didn't get to that. I think you could do it though. All right, that's
actually what Paul says. It looks heat shrinked and looks cool. And Matt said it looks like an umbilical cord.
Definitely. Okay, so let's explore a different method now. And you know what? Maybe we won't even get over here to our Proton pack. We'll just explore all the stuff. But the idea is there. So let's see. This time we have...
Oh, Dave said to do it the old-fashioned way and just use string with half hitches. That just sounds horrible. But there needs to be a half hitch. Dave, maybe you could write a half hitch extension for us.
What? I'm not following.
You know
I was.
Half hitches.
He's
suggesting that in the olden days they didn't use zip ties to tie everything off. They used pieces of string.
Oh.
And then you just use half hitches to, I guess, kind of run the length of it. I'm not that old.
You might be. Okay, so...
I like this kind of looks like this sort of a Lego version of a Proton pack.
Yeah.
Ish.
I think that's fair. So we made the pack itself kind of super blocky. All right, now we're going to get into stringing.
I'll be right back.
Oh, no, I'm all alone. I'm not alone. I know all you guys are out there. I just don't know what you're saying. All right. So we're going to, let me rotate this into place just to make sure nobody is screaming when it doesn't align. So let's create one that's coming from here all the way up to here. As far as the methods that I explored, you always start with a path. Whether you're going to use Follow Me or Helix or what we're going to get into now where you're stringing along a path. So understanding the Bezier tools, starting out with those is your starting point for everything. Now, if there's other ideas on how to do this, but I think you always have to start with the path. I'd be curious if anybody has a different experience.
Nobody's commented yet, so I guess not.
Okay, so that's the start, that's the end, and let's bring this out.
What you could have also done was literally just created a big old school telephone operator board, or whatever.
Oh, totally, right?
Just have the plug, and they just keep swapping out their plugs from here to there, connecting house A to house B.
Totally.
Oh, they posted a picture of an example of that. What the? That's crazy.
Look at how badly I drew that. Dadgummit. But that's why it's nice that we can make some changes here. So let's move this way over in the green. Let me lock it. Same with this one.
So Dave posted a picture from something in Wikipedia, and basically what it looks like is if they designed a Proton pack in 1920. All braided cables and tied together with string. It's so silly. I can smell this thing, like all of the aged fabric or whatever. You know how the inside of old.
And you can imagine like the Ghostbusters walking around, I don't know, in like bomber jackets or something.
Yeah. Well, it'd probably all just be steampunk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's be clear. I mean, cables and hoses are essential to proper steampunk attire.
Totally. And that's what we're all wanting to be. All right, so I don't know why I keep messing that one up.
It's because I was talking. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. It's
so
tricky.
You're using Fredo Spline on this one right now, or are you? Which extension are you in right now?
Yeah, Fredo Spline, and I'm just trying to get this last control point. You can add control points. You can subtract control points on this. I'm not professing to be really good at this tool. Let's try adding a control point here and see if we can kind of bring this out. Just trying to get it around. You're making it worse. Oh, damn it. Uh-oh. Started cussing. We've gone off the rails.
Jeez. What kind of place is this?
I know. Oh my. Okay. I'm gonna abandon this. Okay. So somebody out there can make this and make it better than what I've done. I'm going to use that piece that was working and just go back to trusty old Bezier Curves. And we'll loop it up and around. Oi. Okay, I am not going to fight this anymore. We're just going to move the endpoint. It'll get the point across, though. This little tight corner is going to not work for what we're trying to do, but okay, let's weld this. Here's what we've been working towards. Sorry, everybody. Kind of painful. So let's move this off.
No, that's good.
Say 5 feet.
It's good to see that you also hit stumbling blocks and have painful moments as well.
Oh!
Makes me feel better about myself.
Oh, so many. So many. Oh, man. If it makes you feel better. So let's take and draw. Let me turn this down. Let's say 12. And I'm going to draw this simple disc and make a component. One thing to keep in mind with this is right now the axis is on this corner, and that's going to be important. We'll move that, but let's see what happens first. So there's a couple ways that we can move this along a path. Now, one of the ones that's out there is Chris Fulmer's. If I select the path and this and go to extension, Chris Fulmer's component stringer. Now keep in mind when we do this where the segments are and how many segments there are. No, I don't want to reverse, and I want no scaling. The reason I brought up segments is we can see down here what's happening versus on a longer stretch where they're spaced out. This tool puts a component at each endpoint at the end of each segment. And so that doesn't really work for what we need. If I had been better about building this curve with Fredo Spline and then adjusted the segments, it might work a lot better, but in our case it didn't. But I think this is useful to know. I'm going to undo this. Also, it's not at all following like we want. So let's make some adjustments here. One, let's come in and adjust the axis so that it's working here. I forget if this will work or if we need to move the blue along the edge, but let's do that first. So we've got that. The other one, this is that Bezier toolbar. Again, I don't know what that stands for. But if I look down here and say convert to, there's a whole bunch of things I don't understand what they are. I don't know. But polyline segmentor. This is going to divide this entire curve up into an equal number of segments. Now, because it's kind of long, let's make sure we have enough. Let's say 48. And you can see it's now distributing them equally. So click to accept that. And that's not going to work down here, but we'll at least let's see what we've got, and then we'll keep going from there. So Chris Fulmer, component stringer.
I don't see the Bezier extension like added to the list. Was this something that's in the? Is it? I don't even know where it's at. Do you know where you got it?
Bezier Tools. I think it's called Bezier Tools or Bezier Toolbar. Please, somebody out there correct me because I don't remember exactly.
Bezier Toolbar.
Bezier Toolbar. Okay, so what we've got is actually a nice even distribution, so that's good. We still have problems up in our curves, and we did not get this oriented correctly, so I'm going to come back in and redo.
So Bezier Toolbar keeps redirecting back to Bezier Spline, Fredo 6 Bezier Spline link. So apparently
that may be
Fredo Spline is Bezier Toolbar.
Oh, okay. That's
They're one and the same.
okay. So yeah, maybe we need Fredo Spline. Okay, so this time I've got the blue axis. I think this is what we want, the blue axis to orient to the line. Extensions.
Yeah, Dave confirms it's Bezier Spline from Fredo 6.
Thank you. All right, that's what we wanted, because now, depending on how we set this up, we do something like that, and now we have this much different, I don't know. Again, we're running into trouble up here, so we'd have to be a little careful about how tight the curves we could use with this method. But it's kind of interesting because now, now we can create kind of the, what did we call that? Cardboard?
Cardboard?
What type of tube or path did we say? I don't know.
I don't know. I was in one ear and out the other.
Anyway, it's different. We can obviously see that this is a very different effect than one of these, the Helix ones. So if we took this,
so that one's all about using, instead of using follow me, it's more about a follow like a ray along a path.
Yeah.
Corrugated was the word.
Corrugated. I was trying to call it cardboard. Thank you. So
corrugated cardboard.
We'd need to come in and again mess with tight curves, but that's another way to kind of create this really interesting different type of path.
So most of these cables are pretty small. So when you were playing with this, did you find that you had a certain sort of, if you angled it too much, or if there was a size that was more likely to start getting the SketchUp doesn't really like tiny scaled objects? Like, do you have any advice there? Do this 10 times larger than you're supposed to?
I think that's always good advice if you're going to get really small. We're not microscopically small here, but certainly scaling this up in some cases. Also, I think most people understand you really can't do super tight corners. But depending on the type of cable you have, you wouldn't be able to do that anyway. So, I don't know. You're going to have to play around. You're going to have to do some adjustments. Let's do this same idea, but show different tools. So that one, like I said, was Chris Fulmer's component stringer. It's free, and you just need the key with it is that it's going to put it at each segment. So you need to change the number of segments if you really want even distribution. And what you may do, again, for curves, is you may come in somewhere here and say, I'm going to isolate this, and I'm going to say, I have to move this way up because it's at the bottom down here. So segmentor, I may say this one, let's say 12 segments, and then do the same down here where I increase the number of segments in a tighter curve than in the general curve. So play around with doing stuff like that. And if you're going to use Chris Fulmer's tool, which is great. He also has some options. I mean, we talked about a twisted braided cable. No, that is right. If we came up here and made our this is I'm a little skeptical on how well this is going to work, but
Well, do it anyway. Now we got to see it.
I know. Let's do what we did a little bit ago, where we have something like this. Oh, we got a nice baseball. Okay, so I'm going to make a component. Let me readjust the axis. So make sure my blue is pointing out. Yes. Okay.
So a lot of this is futzing around with settings to just get better at it.
I think
one of those things you got to do some to get better at it.
Yeah, for sure. Especially once you get into some of this stuff where you're following along the path. Unless you know exactly what you're trying to do from the start, we're playing around. But so component stringer, I don't want to reverse. If I say total rotation, and that's going to rotate each one down the path, down the sequence. So let's say total rotation is 45. No scaling. Okay. You can see why this may not work for you, but if we look at just generally what it's doing, it is twisting it as it goes down the path, and that, you could play with this and maybe get something if you got the number of segments nicely evenly distributed. Maybe. I don't know. But let's look
crazy
at,
like that.
let's look at another option we can use for this. So, component stringer, is nice because it's going to work in 3D. There's one that's component along path, something like that. But I think that one only works best in 2D. Like if you can have curves, but they have to be kind of in a flat plane. It allows you to distribute them differently, but the one that we want to explore is this one that's part of Sketch Plus. They've got one called Path Array that is pretty interesting. So I've got my path selected. I only just started playing with this, so I might fumble a little bit. So starting point of the path. I think it wants to know, it's the starting point here or up here. Let's just say it's here. Okay, then we click a component. And then it gives us an even distribution, and we can determine how many we want.
Whoa. So Andy posted a picture on the forum thread of just a nightmare of a cable wiring setup. He also did comment that looks like a spinal column you got going on right there.
It does, totally like a cool spinal column. This one is again, so I think, so let's see real quick. Yeah, red. So this one, whereas Chris Fulmer, we wanted the blue axis to follow the edge. This one, I think we want the red one. So let's undo this and change our axes. This way, I believe. Okay, so component stringer. This is not a great shape. Let's just get rid of this and make something better.
Sometimes you have to make something without great shapes just to appreciate what a great shape really looks like.
Let's create this. Change the axis, which we could change when we created it, I know. Okay. Let's see if this will work for us. So we've got component, path array, start here, and click on this. This is so cool. Like this is really great feedback. So props on a great tool. Let's do something like that, and then.
Is this the Fulmer one still, or is this?
Nope. This is Sketch Plus, Path Array from Sketch Plus. That's part of that suite of tools. So let's take that, move it, stretch this. Oops. I don't know. Now we've got this sort of, we've seen those arms that you can position, and there's a better version. Dave's created a better version of this out there in the forum somewhere, but you get the idea, right? I still think this is pretty cool. If we round off some of these edges, if we extend this a little farther.
These remind me of, like, I don't know what to call the thing, but it's basically like each of those is a notch, and usually there's a tube through them. So I've seen people create like air compressor hoses or vacuum kind of hoses, something that is, well, like the thing you've got on probably have on your little jigsaw.
Yeah.
The little blower, right? And each of those is a knob they can pivot around inside of the one before it.
Yeah.
What is that thing called?
I don't know. Somebody's going to tell us quickly. Quick, who's going to tell us?
I can't wait to find out.
So, let's see.
Max called it a gorilla clamp arm, which I think works as well.
Oh, totally.
I feel like that's probably not the technical name. flexi arm is what Adam says.
Flexi arm. Nice. I got a flexi arm right here.
Yeah. Well, so Andy referenced the Adam Savage video where he was making a thing to hold his lights up, which was exactly the thing I had in my mind's eye whenever I was trying to come up with a name. Maybe I should just call it a Savage Flex or something like that.
Nice.
Except he didn't design it.
We're going to stick this right here to be part of our whole mess of stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So Kegi a while ago said, this is really cool and all, but it would not win any Tidy Cable Awards.
Oh, but... Okay, fine. Let me think. I think... Oh, nobody's told me to save, and I said from the beginning we're going to crash for sure.
Holy cow.
Oh my goodness,
Still
we're
Untitled.
dancing on the edge. Let's just throw this. Whew. I think that was about, let's see, path array, component stringer. There's a few simple tools that, depending on what you're trying to do, this one is called Draw Wires, and it's very straightforward. It just draws, where is it? Where is it? Up here. I don't know. Draw Wires. There they are. So if I click here, it's just 2 points, and it sort of draws what that wire would be if, you know, based on kind of gravity. So if you're drawing a simple wire, you know, between 2 points and trying to have the curve right between them and just point, this could be an interesting tool. So just worth honorable mention here. Draw Wires. Another one that I think we didn't talk about, Helix Along Curve. If you're doing spirals, that's this one, Helix Along Curve. It has a couple tools for doing things, and if I draw a helix, so I'll draw that. I think there's more controls for, you know, how to draw it, but if you're drawing just a basic helix, again, depending on the path you're trying to do, and if you need a path that does something like this. But so just thought I'd mention those. For most of what we're doing over here, those wouldn't be relevant. And I think that's kind of it. Like, we made a jumbled mess of chords in a couple ways. So I don't know what other thoughts are out there.
Do you want to try doing like a twisted cable?
No, but I have another idea.
Okay.
Okay, we'll try and do. Let's just find out what happens. Let's take this. Somebody out there may know better Fredo's spline. Like, if you could go back and edit it after the fact, and then you create your spline, copy it, and then do a little bit of tweak, and then you use that, you probably could do it. But in our case, let's find out what happens if we just do, you know, helix along, this won't exactly work, but let's see how close we get. Helix along a curve with 3 very close curves. How about that? What do you think? I think we
okay, try it.
We could get something that, let's find out. So it's probably okay to start with. That. Same thing. Do that, and then took one of these and did a profile. It's not that's not exactly doing what we wanted, but so something like that.
Like, I've watched the videos where people doing this with really big cables, you know, when they're holding on to each strand with their hands and just kind of wrapping them.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like you should be able to, like, based on how easy they make that look, it seems like you should be able to just create one cable and then sort of twist it slightly to get it to match up. I know that's not how it is.
You know, another thing that we could try is something like, so let's leave this in place, and let's change up here. So let's like make this radius 1. Okay, and then I'm going to move that off. Then let's reverse that. I love that we're just taking everybody's time just to explore what we have no idea. Sort of. And then not exactly. Still something that's kind of fun. I did want to show one other option though that so let's create a simple cable from here, let's say over to here. Now, I think so you brought up earlier this idea of just plugs, and this is one of those things that would apply to that. So let's say we're taking, I'm going to, so a lot of wires or cables have that sort of extra piece at the end of them, right, to kind of protect against the bend. And so that's what we're going to do.
Andy's wondering if that Helix tool would be useful for doing rope, which I guess making rope is also similar to the twisted cable kind of thing. You have to create a thing and then, yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. So, okay, so I'm going to group this and put one over here. Nope, not yet. Okay, let me scale this down. Now, one thing that is also that you can do is use Fredo's scale tools to bend some of these things. So if you had something like this, or even, you know, an extended version of this.
Well, so yeah, Andy was actually just suggesting using True Bend, which he thinks maybe is Fredo. But he was thinking you might be able to use that for the twisted cable.
Oh yeah, you might. So like if you twisted a straight version, and then you could take that and start bending it. That actually, yeah. I played around with, is True Bend Fredo or is it Fulmer? Shape Bender, I think Shape Bender's Fulmer, and I played around with that, and like the Follow Me tool, if you start getting into heavy curves, you start warping the geometry and flattening it in certain ways. So it does work if it's not like really curvy, but I don't know.
Looks like True Bend is
about True
It's
Bend.
actually TomTom.
Ooh, well then I haven't tried it. That's cool. But this is what I wanted to show on this one is, so if we take, and I'm going to use, let's say, I could have anticipated this, but let's just say I want to scale, taper this, and taper it from the center. Okay, so you get something like that. And then, because, actually, it's just, that looks terrible, whatever. Then I want to bend this the way that a cable would start coming out. So this is where we're going to use this radial bend that's also part of Fredo scale. I apologize if it's a bit noisy here. So if I click once, come out, and then click, and I can twist this like that. So that is now, we'll twist this one, like it's coming up here, and this one, so now we could draw between those and and draw a better sleeve. Again, who knows? I don't know what that's called exactly. Do that. I should have made that a component. I hear the criticism.
And it's never aimed at you.
No,
that's a fun little guy. It reminds me of a, I don't know, kind of looks like little robotic feelers now sticking out at different spots.
Well, we need those just to draw our Bezier curves, right? Or at least I like having them, because if I draw, then that helps set them in correctly. So from here to here, and then I'm just, see that line gives me kind of a way to extend out. And then there's that reference. And did that go around okay? Sure did. So now we've got that. And we'll just keep this a simple pipe. It's probably pretty small. Perfect. But yeah, the Fredo Radial Bend, so True Bend, I haven't explored it, but that sounds like that one too will be a great option to explore. And Radial Bend, if you're trying to make something like this where you have these protective sleeves and coming in and out there. I don't know. Anything else? That's all I had. Let's
see if anybody has anything they want to talk about. Transom's head looks good. That's nice.
Cool. I'd love to see.
Oh, lock line was what that stuff that those little ball.
Oh, lock line.
Ball guys that snap together. Yeah.
Okay. Lock line. Yeah, I use them for
that is
soldering stations and stuff.
Yeah, I tried my hand trying to 3D print some of those a while back. I think it's one of those things where you got to have your 3D printer just dialed in. My 3D printer is not dialed in.
Well, this is, let's see, this is fun. Let's just throw some color on here, and unless anybody has other thoughts, we might call it.
All right.
That's about all I got.
I think that was quite a bit. Especially if people then go off and check into Aaron's draping a cable or Bezier skill builder videos, then they should be sitting in butter.
Sitting in butter. Tasty, yummy butter. Yeah, so if we do, I hope everybody's got good weekend plans.
Got very, very minimal plans. It's supposed to be in the temperatures that make it amenable to be in my shop. So I'll be doing that.
Oh, that's a plus.
I think.
Nice.
Dave said he has modeled Lockline for jobs.
Well,
and then also he was wanting to know what was the idea that he supplied, since you gave him a shout out early on.
Well, I asked about something like this. It was a while back, but he showed an example of Lockline and made the suggestion for component stringer, which led me down a good path of sort of exploring that option. Box was the one suggesting this tapering and radial bend. So good, very good suggestions. Forums are awesome.
Yeah, it looks like most of those extensions, like when it went to dig them up, they're almost all of them are free. So that's pretty handy.
It is handy. This Helix one is one of those that, I mean, not that it's applicable to all kinds of situations, but in here, it's just a home run. That's extraordinary. It's really straightforward to use too. Once you played around with it a little bit, so it's nice. Real nice. Thanks. Thanks, whoever made that.
Real nice. That's real nice, Clark.
That's real nice. All right. That is all I got. So I am...
Stick a fork in him.
Stick a fork. I don't know what Aaron has on deck for whenever next we meet, but it will be exceptional as always, I am sure. Anything else we got coming up, Mr. Gates?
No events that I can think of. Aaron would be the one that would be talking about plugging all of the social media or marketing or just general chit-chat things. We got a Christmas coming up if you celebrate that.
We do indeed. And holiday in some form or fashion, so.
But we should be around next week.
Lovely.
We should be around the week after that. But I'm not sure about 3 weeks hence.
That is fair. Okay, so thanks again, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I hope there was some interesting and insightful stuff going on here, and have a lovely weekend. An absolutely wonderful weekend. That's it.
Enjoy your time away from work if you get that.
Definitely. All right. Till next time.
See you guys.